I call the honourable member for Murray.
I thank you.
Well today, Bill.
I thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is to the Assistant Treasurer. Will the Assistant Treasurer update the House on the government's action to reduce Australia's debt and deficit? What challenges are there to this approach?
I call the Honourable the Assistant Treasurer.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And can I thank the honourable member
We'll have some
for her
silence
question
on my left.
and acknowledge the strong contribution she makes to regional economic growth. Madam Speaker, at the end of 2007, when those opposite took government, they inherited a pristine balance sheet. There was zero government debt and more than $50 billion in the bank. They had the best terms of trade in 140 years, and revenue increased by more than 22% under those opposite. But despite those good conditions, they left us $240 billion worth of deficit and a trajectory of $667 billion worth of debt. And it's been left to the Treasurer and people on our side to clean up your mess. And as a result of our measures, debt will be $170 billion lower under the Coalition than it will be under the Labor Party. And spending growth has been reduced from 3.6% to just 1%. But I'm asked, are there any challenges? Madam Speaker, the biggest challenges are those sitting opposite. The biggest challenges are those sitting opposite. Not only are they blocking around $30 billion worth of savings in the Senate, including billions that you took to the last election, but the member for McMahon is kidding himself about the fiscal reality that we face. Just last week, the member for McMahon said debt and deficit was just rhetoric. Just rhetoric! Madam Speaker, the member for McMahon said it was okay because in Australia we were far better off than they are in Greece. Now, Madam Speaker, fortunately on this side, we don't subscribe to the member for McMahon's ouzo economics. Madam Speaker, we have to heed the message of the IMF, of the OECD, of the Parliamentary Budget Office, of the Governor of the Reserve Bank. Now, the member for McMahon had a tough week last week. We don't begrudge him for forgetting the marginal tax rates. We don't begrudge him for not knowing the currency of our largest trading partner. We don't begrudge him for not knowing the difference between gross debt and net debt. But we do begrudge him for the cover-up, which is far greater than the crime. Listen to what he had to say. I didn't see it being relevant to the conversation at hand. I chose not to answer the question. I didn't want to get into a long discussion about what various thresholds are. But the piece de resistance, Madam Speaker, was I do heaps of interviews, many hundreds of interviews, probably over 1,000. Well, Madam Speaker, we checked the member for McMahon's website. We counted how many interviews and speeches he did. Guess how many it was over the last year? 242. The member for McMahon can't even get that number right.